Good afternoon and Happy New Year, Dr. Sunderland. This is Jeff Anderson. I'm going to complete my video presentation for Module 5 for EDP 565, Research Methods and Statistics in Sport for Fall 2015. My project, my research paper was on positive youth development, a coach's perspective, looking at a famous coach from Notre Dame, Knute Rockne. One man practicing sportsmanship is far better than 50 others preaching it. I find that very, very telling in this day and age that we have a lot of coaches out there that are looking at sportsmanship and positive youth development more than others. And it's unfortunate that is the case. Positive youth development is more than just sportsmanship. It's showing them culture, showing the youth the culture of positive citizenry. What goes into that: honor, honesty, responsibility, self-control and discipline, courage, respect, integrity, and knowledge of the game that the student athletes are playing. And that is very, very important because in one of my studies, it showed that there were 44 million children and youth participating in some form of athletics in the U.S. And I think that's an incredible number that positive youth development can reach, good positive youth coaches can reach. Parents and coaches are probably the two primary influences on student athletes. You have cheerleaders, you have officials, you have administrators and teachers, instructors, the spectators, both student and alumni and community involvement, your opponents and your teammates as well. Those are factors that come into the experience and the positive youth development for student athletes in this day and age. Part of my literature review, I found that Che, Park, O, and Oakson, in 2015, they did a study that was correlating sports programs and life skills development. And they found that children were more attracted to sports mentoring to establish a relationship for caring adults. That would say something about the home environment. And they did find that they found that the more distant the relationship with parents or caregivers, the more intense the bond was with the sport coach. All of those studies that I did, I looked at programs up in Canada based on hockey programs. In 2014, 2012, they used the same researchers, Kamari and Lee, looked at how they can take hockey teams that are traveling down across the border from Canada to the U.S. to play prep schools, how everything they do is focused on positive youth development and life skills development. And they found that the parents that committed to this, the students that committed to this, the coaches that were very time consumed away from their families, they found that those athletes were 95%, the 95% graduation rate at university from that program. So once they finished that high school program, those student athletes were more likely to go on and graduate from college. Now, that doesn't mean they're great student or great citizens, but that positive youth development, I think, impacted and showed them, that graduation rate of 95% was very, very telling. For my methodology, I would like to use a sampling of boys and girls, youth and high school coaches in the state of Oregon. And I'm going to base some descriptive factors, age, experience, whether they're educators or not, as well as if it's a girls coach or a boys coach. And the last descriptive factor, which would be, I guess, another independent variable, is whether or not the coach has spent time at a Christian-based or a faith-based sports camp, similar to NABC or Cascade Sports Camp in Oregon, where the positive youth development is very, very balanced with skill development and game management, basically. What I would like to use is a Likert scale in the survey to use descriptive scenarios, preseason practice. Give a scenario where a student is acting out. Do you get the team together, or do you focus just on that one player, which is more important right now, the team development in terms of skill and game management, or on the other side of the scale, positive youth development. And I think that would be very, very telling with the age independent variable. I think the younger the coach, you'll see the answers will be more towards the game based, skill based development rather than the positive youth development. The procedures I'm going to use are a factorial ANOVA, and I think using that I can use two independent variables to find my dependent variable of for my null hypothesis. And if I understand this correctly, my null hypothesis, there will be no difference in commitment to positive youth development when looking at high school basketball coaches. And I think that would be the correct one. My issues with my survey, with my sampling, would be homogeneity. I think a lot of coaches are fairly similar. They're like-minded, so positive youth development would be very, very important to them. So I guess that would affect the validity for research response bias. They want to appease the researcher and say yeah, or appear to be a good coach, a good positive youth coach. So they would ask or answer the questions in such a manner that could affect the validity. Another constraint would be workload for educators or coaches who are also working their other jobs and then coming to work. Would they be able to take the time to complete the study? I did use SurveyMonkey, and I did a survey with basically a network of coaches I know, and I had 50 coaches answer, and primarily, I guess 80% of them, 48% of the respondents were ages 35 to 44. I did use ranges from 18 to 24, 25 to 34, 35 to 44, 45 to 46 to 54, or 45 to 54, 55 to 64, and then older. There weren't any 75 or older coaches, but there was one coach in the 65 to 74 range. Male dominated, 84 to 16%, but there was a very, very good separation for high school basketball coaches for the amount of time, how long they've coached, 0 to 1 year, 2 to 4 years, 5 to 6, 5 to 7, 8 to 10 years, and then 10 to 10 years or 12 years or more. And the mean was about 20%, so it was a nice split. The high was 24, and the low was 16%. What was really telling, the opinion of impact on positive youth development on a scale of 1 to 5, of no significance, marginal significance, or very significant. Coaches ranked first with 4.75 on the scale. Parents ranked second at 4.43. And I thought that was very, very interesting, as the third ranking on that were players. They ranked the significance as 4.12 out of 5. I thought that was very, very interesting that my coaches felt that players were the third most important. During practice was the highest scored for positive youth development. I guess that's because the majority of the time is spent with the kids in practice, so you can develop those positive skills and life experiences in practice. In everything we do, it builds upon practice. I guess skills development and youth and positive life skills are developed in practice, just because of amount of time of contact. That would be mine. The results I would find, I believe we would find for the ANOVA is, like I said before, the more experienced the coach, the more time would be spent on positive youth development. And I think that you would see it more in close games. We would see a very, very nice balance of positive youth development and game management, skill development, basically, right? Either or with that. So I wish to thank you very much for this opportunity. I wish I could have had this in a timely manner. Appreciate it very much. Have a great New Year's, and I'll talk to you soon. Thank you. Bye-bye.